What's up, everybody? My name is Sam, and this is the internet where things happen. And today is a little bit different. I'm gonna be honest with you. This week has been super weird, and I was like completely bereft of ideas for something that I should do for the channel. So I got a really weird bug, which is what fuels most of my videos. I don't know if you've determined that by now, because I say that phrase a lot. Yeah, I got a really sudden urge to do something very specific. If you guys watched my one video about my move from Ohio to Seattle and the fact that this year was 3 years of me doing that, you'll know that my dad is a very important part of my life. And I thought about this today because I had a conversation with somebody about how important my dad has been in my life. And I was just like, I want to do something with my dad. So to set up the story, back in 2016, I did a podcast called May We Have a Word. And the general concept of that podcast was every week I would pick a word. I did the word escape, the word story, death, music, just like all teach music, all kinds of different words. And I had people that I knew, my friends, on the show to discuss what that word means to them. And one of the words that I did was father. I was just like, I want to do this with my dad. And so we did. So on Christmas Eve 2015, we sat down and recorded this because we were together, and we just kind of talked about like life and what it had been like, what it was like for him to be raised by my grandfather, his father, what it was like raising me, and kind of his life up to a certain point, like what it meant to him to be a father and things of that nature. And it was a very great talk. I love talking to my dad about just anything. What I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of like republish that because I was thinking about it, and it's very important that I have that podcast. Sometimes there's a lot of loss that happens, and especially right now you're thinking about like the Black Lives Matter movement and everything that's going on with COVID and all that other stuff is just, it makes you think about what's important to you in your life. My dad is very important to me, and hopefully years and years and years and years and years and years and years. I don't know how many more years I can add into that before it just like becomes impossible. But however many, all that time down the line when I don't have him anymore to be that best friend, to be that guide for me, to be a light in my life, I'm going to be thankful that I have stuff like this, and that I thought to talk to him about this stuff, and I'm going to be thankful for the relationship that we had a chance to foster. I had a lot of issues growing up as a kid. I didn't understand a lot of what was going on in my life because I had there was a lot of stuff that went on in my life. I mean, I'll just leave it at that. But my dad, choosing to go live with my dad was probably the best decision that I ever made. Yeah, so I kind of edited this episode. I put some pictures and all kinds of stuff to make it a little bit more interesting because it is audio only, so there's no video element to it. But I hope that you like this. It's older. The sound quality is a little echoey. I tried to clean it up as best I could because it was worse before I put it in here. Because back in 2016, it's 4 years ago, I knew way less than I do now about video and audio editing. Still learning, still a baby, but I'm better, and so I did what I could with this. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope that soon I can get my dad on this channel to do something else. So with that being said, after the little intro sting, you're going to be hearing me and my dad from 4 years ago talking about the word father, and so I hope you enjoy. Thanks. Oh, I'll do this because I won't be able to do it at the end. Here you go. I am Sam Wright. I'm here with Timothy Wright, henceforth referred to as Dad.
Hello? Hello?
Yep.
The word today is father, and I am, of course, doing this episode with my father. How goes it today?
Today's good. Just a little bit warm for Christmas Eve.
Yes. We are recording this on Christmas Eve, so that's something. Spending quality father-son time together today. So, recording a podcast. You didn't really know. This is weird because I don't know. You don't know what you're doing.
No, I have no clue.
I barely know what I'm doing. So it's gonna be good. The first thing that I do is ask my guests, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of the word father?
Love, responsibility. Trying to figure out how to expound on that from this point.
Well, I mean, I guess it's fair to say it's a big responsibility to take on that role, obviously.
Yeah, I'll say. When I first became a father, I was very nervous because, of course, it was the first time with you, okay, and the only time. But I was nervous, but I was. How would you say? I wasn't scared. Okay, I was nervous, but I wasn't scared, and I think that goes back to how I was raised. You know, I have 5 brothers and 1 sister, your uncle and aunt, and we were raised by, had both parents at home all the time, and Dad was disabled, former muscular dystrophy. SMA type 2, spinal muscular atrophy, but he was home all the time because he was in the army, and he got out of the army, medically retired, and he went to work for the post office for a few years, couple of years, and not. So I don't remember a time where my dad was working at a job. Okay, however, that's not to say that when he was at home and whatnot, he was out taking care of the things, the day-to-day household chores, cutting the grass, making repairs to the house and whatnot, what he could, okay? And one of the things that I really liked about that, and that I remember to this day, with him being at home, and with my mom being home, it was very nice to have both parents, but especially Dad. I got to spend all the time with him. I, get home, go to school. He'd be waiting for us when we got off the bus and whatnot. And if I needed, Dad was smart. He was very smart, So I had, always had him there for help me with homework and my assignments and whatnot. If I needed his help, he was always there. So I could always, depend on him. And that's the one thing I miss about him, because he had, for what he went through and everything else, and he was able to raise, 5 of us boys. 6 of us boys at home. My sister didn't live with us, okay, but he was able to raise 6 of us at home with the help of my mom. But, we picked up a lot of things from him. And from what I know and understand of my brothers and whatnot, their kids have turned out really good, and I feel like you turned out really good.
So was he already retired from the army before Uncle Johnny was born, or was it?
I believe, let me see if I remember this correctly, Uncle Johnny was born in... he was retired when Uncle Johnny... Yeah, he's retired by the...
So it's pretty much been for all of you. He's just been there.
Yeah. So, he's been there for all of us. And, but I think your Uncle Johnny remembers him. We had this talk when he was... when Dad passed away, and he remembers him going to work at the post office, and whatnot, and Mom would take him up to the post office, show him, pick up Dad, and then show him where Dad worked and what Dad did. Dad was a postal clerk for a little while, at the post office. So until he wasn't able to work anymore. So
that was one of the, because I remember we've talked about this, about why you retired when you did, and why you retired back to Ohio, so that not only you, but so I could have time with him before he passed.
I can expound on that a little bit. Yeah. Well, yeah, and that was the reason why, because I know when, before I retired, we were over in England. We enjoyed that, and I know you didn't want to leave there.
No. I mean, not at the time we did.
Not the time you didn't want to leave there, but Dad wasn't. His health was getting worse, and I knew this, and I knew that at that point I'd been in the Air Force for nearly. I made the decision at probably about my 17th, before we went over to England last time.
That was going to be your last.
That was going to be my last tour, and that was 4 years. And I said, well, it was going to put me right at 20 years, and a little bit over 20 years. And I said it was time to go. Plus, there's some other things, but for the most part, it was because of my dad and his health, and being away for all these years, I didn't get to spend as much time with him. I'd come home for leave. That's the one thing I really loved about my dad too, was that when I was away, out of the blue, I'd get a phone call from him. He said he was just thinking about me and just wanted to just talk. And so we talked for what seemed like hours. I know what now, because of the long distance, but. but we would talk for for a long time, and just about how you doing, how's the family, how's Samuel doing, how's Tammy doing, even when I was married to your mom, but he would, and I would, we talk about things that were going on, back in Lima, and how his health was doing, how everybody else was doing. Because Dad was pretty much, he would tell me everything that was going on, my brothers, and, he was like the news. So what surprising when I come home or, whatnot, with my brothers, I'd have some idea of what was going on with them,
You kind of just jump back into everything.
Yeah, it was easy for me to jump back into everything. But, I thought, at that point, I said, well, I got, to this day, I retired, came home, and to this day, I don't regret it, because when we got back and whatnot, we'd spend time up in Lima, and they'd come down here a couple times, but we enjoyed that time. And the other thing too was when I became when I got custody of you, and it became a single parent. Having him there, that really helped me too. That really helped me help raise you. And I just totally appreciate everything. Everything you did. It's like if it had to do with discipline or advice on how you were doing in school and whatnot, I would talk to him, and he would guide me and help me come to the right decision. He wouldn't tell me you need to do this, you need to do that. He would talk to me and give me examples of us growing up, and it would help me come to make the right decisions.
It's more guidance than instruction.
It's no more guidance than structure telling me how to do it. So he throw a little bit nugget here or there, and I picked up on it and did the best I could.
Just kind of rolled with it.
Yeah, rolled with it.
Because it's clear that he obviously because I feel lucky that I was able to spend that time with him and get to know him.
Right.
And he obviously influenced not only how you live your life as an adult, as a man, but as a parent as well.
Right.
And I wanted to kind of ask the question, because that kind of is part of it, but just due to all the stuff, I obviously didn't spend my general formative years with you.
Right.
So when I finally moved to Ohio and you got custody of me and started living, like how big of an adjustment was it for you going from how you were like living before to having me? Because I know it was an adjustment for me. I know I wasn't the easiest child to deal with.
Well, it was a big adjustment coming, with things, such as discipline and whatnot, but that's, again, I go back to my dad, okay, and, how do I handle this, and, what steps should I take and whatnot. So, those steps were put forth and I just deal with it the best I could, and would never out of anger. I would never punish you out of anger, or anything. It was just, this is what I felt, how I felt it needed to be done, and obviously we're sitting here, going through our ups and downs over the years, dealing with that, but, here we are sitting here, and, I feel we have a very strong relationship, and, there's never any filter, which I appreciate when you and I have our talks and whatnot. There's no filter. You're able to talk to me, and not expect me to, fly off the handle, or how would I? Or you're able.
Well, I guess would you say overreact? Maybe.
Yeah, overreact. Okay, because I know I had a penchant for overreacting a little bit, but I think over the years I've mellowed quite a bit.
It's been because I know it. The reason why I asked that question, because it was an adjustment for me, because obviously I was coming from living with my grandparents and kind of my mom, I guess. So I was coming from that system of being raised that way, and then I moved to something which I would honestly consider completely different, because my grandparents, my nana and my papa, they had similar views on life, I guess, as you do,
Right.
but just the way that they went about parenting. I feel was different from you, especially given the dynamic between them, because Nana was she was more of a gentle person, but she would get frustrated, and Papa being retired Navy and him grumpy and all the time and stuff like that, they kind of like clashed on how it should go for me, and I guess that's kind of what developed my kind of attitude. Put in air quotes there. So jumping over to living with you was that adjustment, because it was for the first however long it was just you,
Right.
So I mean that's why I asked that question. It's just
and I I seen it, but he never told me per se. that different dynamic between them two.
Right. Well, because it was not only that, but then it was like, because my mom was being my mom, and she would jump in sometimes, and then I would get that big well, I miss my mom. My mom said this and blah blah blah. So I would get attitude with them, and then they would try to find ways to kind of pull me down from that ledge, and then kind of carry on. But it was just like, it was between the three of them. It was a strange dynamic, and from going from that to you, where it's like you pretty much made the decisions and you knew exactly how to deal with it,
right?
And I figured a lot of that came from Grandpa, but I didn't realize how much.
Right. And that's the thing too, is that being here when we were stationed here before I retired and whatnot, that helped a lot too. That really did. And when you decided to, you found God, and you got baptized, and that really went a long way right there too. And I think that sort of you start to center, that got you a lot more centered. Knowing that you came to that decision on your own, and I didn't have to push you into it. Okay, because over the years, because I'd be a hypocrite in saying that I was constantly in church while I was in the military. You and I know that wasn't true. Okay, but I got back into it after going. I got back into church after some things happened and whatnot, and that pushed me back in that direction. So
because it was when we went to England. That's because I remember that was like a thing, and I feel like and I know kind of what pushed you back if we're thinking about the same thing,
right?
But
we won't go into that.
No, we'll leave that one alone.
That one out.
She who will not be named. But I remember that being just kind of it was a steady thing because obviously like at first it was every so often it would happen, but like after we moved to England, I remember we went to that church off base that one time, and then the car got stuck.
Yeah. That was when Tim and Rodney came over.
Yeah, that was, and then we went to the chapel on base, and that was our thing there. And then came back and we found the chapel here, and you were there to this day,
right?
And that honestly, that's been one of the steadier things. Just kind of the support from people from the different churches we've been to.
And I get that support from, like I said, from the churches we go to, from here going out to Prairie Chapel, and I get a lot of support from people, a lot of emotional support, So plus I have Tammy, and she's been a godsend too.
Yeah, no.
And
Tammy's the best thing that ever happened to you.
Yeah. And I think the best thing that ever happened to you too.
Yeah, probably. So that was a lot of much needed structure too.
Yeah.
Because I'll be the first one to admit that I was kind of resistant to it.
Right.
At first, but over the years, as me and her have started to kind of bond more and build a better relationship, she works with you tremendously. And she truly cares about me because somebody can come in and not care about the child if it's a relationship where they both have children and one of them has children, the other one doesn't. It's kind of it doesn't always have to be. What am I trying to say right now? Yeah, I mean, like they don't always have to respect the fact that that's your child,
right.
And she totally did, and she understood that. And I think Rodney being around too kind of helped that too, because she wanted you to respect him, and she did the same for you and me. Right. It's been great. Yeah, actually looking back at it, so she definitely helped you out a lot. Yeah, helped me out a lot too. Right, kind of learning lessons in women's life. And honestly, helped me, like, the job that I'm working now kind of helped me get there too. Because she gave me that shot. Right. That shot that kind of crashed and burned, but we'll go into that either.
Yeah, we'll go into that, but, that's the thing too, is that without, I could sit here and say, from the time I had custody of you and whatnot, and then went through that single father stage, I can honestly say that I can honestly say that I couldn't have gotten to this point without her. Okay, like I said, anybody can sit here and say, "Oh, I'm a single parent," and whatnot, and say, "Well, I got a handle on this and everything else." I'll be the first to tell you I don't have the answer to everything. Okay, and but having her having raised 2 boys, and and that's the thing it's a village effect. Okay, not from just her, from my parents, and from spiritual community and whatnot. It's a village. You can't sit here and people, if they sit here and said, well, they're doing things on their own, that's fine and dandy, but at the same time, you didn't get somewhere without somebody's help. Okay, to some extent, that goes for anything.
Like the CEOs at the top of the mountain making big dollars out there for somebody else.
Or in my case, that general or that colonel that's working up there, he didn't get to where he was at by, himself. Okay. It took a lot of people that worked under him.
Somebody helped him or mentored him or helped him boost himself up.
Or people that's worked for him. You don't sit here and take the credit for something when you clearly didn't. Do it by yourself. So,
absolutely. I want to talk about this really quick because I remember one of the favorite things when I was younger. So before you had custody of me when you were still stationed at Luke, I remember it was every Friday.
Yep.
We would go to the shopette, and I would get that thing of bubble jug.
Yeah.
I'd give him a bubble jug.
Right.
And then we would go and we'd order pizza.
Right.
And watch Boy Meets World.
Right. TGI Friday.
TGI Fridays. We watch Boy Meets World and all that stuff. And then I remember, do you remember that demo disc? That PlayStation disc, and it had that game with the squares that rotated around? I couldn't quite figure out. You know what I'm talking about? It was that Pizza Hut demo disc.
Yeah, right.
And it had like the Crash Bandicoot, and like it had that weird game that I need to figure out what that game is. It's been bothering me for the longest time.
Oh yeah,
but
it might be in the closet.
I should probably look for that because that was my favorite thing. I remember doing that, and it was like our weekend ritual. Man.
And then we go to we go out and do whatever we need to do on Saturday, and then we go to church on Sunday. Go to church, and then what we do after that, we go to breakfast. Go to church,
go to breakfast, then have like the buffet.
Yeah, the buffet at the club, and walk in there. Yeah.
And I remember at church too, because you would always like encourage me to get on the bus and go to the children's church.
Yeah,
and I would never want to.
Right. Stay with me, huh?
Yeah, I didn't want to go because I wasn't ever the most confident child, so I never wanted to go out and kind of be out there,
Right.
That was the thing. Like and honestly, that wasn't something that developed for me until we left England. Because I had obviously the Francos, Derek, and then obviously I had
you had your group of friends.
I did, but it was never a big group of friends.
Right.
Like it was never like maybe it's a handful of people that I would consider. Well, but like as far as being like out there and open about just being who I am, because I was always afraid that people were going to judge me for it. And then we got back here and I stopped caring.
Right.
I don't know. So I don't know. I think and a lot of that kind of came from you too, because like as time moved on, and as I lived with you more, like I feel like I got a lot more confident about who I was and kind of being out there.
Right.
I guess is the word.
Yeah.
So you kind of helped me with that too. Which kind of makes me want to ask you, so what was it like? What was it like being a child living with Grandpa? Because you've kind of given me a little bit.
That's a loaded question.
What do you mean it's a loaded question?
Well, you have to understand, I had 5 other brothers.
Oh yeah.
so big. Well,
where were you in the pantheon?
I was the second middle child.
The second middle child.
Yeah.
So it was Uncle Johnny, Uncle Stevie.
Yeah.
And Uncle Kevin, then you, and Uncle Michael, and Uncle Mike.
Yeah, I was son number 4. So it's the funny thing. Well, that reminds me how before Facebook. It's like Mike will say son number 5. Or,
Yeah, I love the term second middle child. That's my favorite thing.
because growing up, it was I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world because of my brothers, okay, and because of my parents. It's plain simple,
Well, because they're all goofy.
We're all goofy, and I think we all get that from Dad. Okay,
Yeah.
I think your grandma was more no nonsense. Okay,
I get it. Yeah, I see that.
but
Love you, Grandma. You're probably not listening to this. That's okay.
But she was more no nonsense. But growing up, I think that's one of the things that shaped me. That having my older brothers and even your Uncle Mark, Uncle Michael, and I was able to be a big brother. I was still able to be a big brother. Okay. Not only that, but next door we had the Kellys. When we lived on Seraph Road, and the Kellys, Reverend Mrs. Kelly had 2 sons. Excuse me, 2 sons. How many did we have, Judy? 2 sons and 3 daughters. Okay, and those 2 boys, Al and Bud Kelly. Okay, his name is Eddie Kelly, and Al, rest in peace. They really shaped us too, because they taught us to be, what my dad couldn't do physically. We're out there, they had us out there playing football, putting us through dummy practice and everything. Yeah, we were the dummies, right? Seeking them for advice and whatnot. We had that. That's the thing I appreciate. This goes back to a village, okay? Because where we grew up and whatnot, not only did we have the Kellys, we had my Uncle David down the street. My Uncle David and Linda lived right down the street, and had my cousins Sean, David, and Alan, and then up the street was our cousins Bud and Jean Ann, and they had 5 kids too. They had 5 kids, Freddie, Pam, Benny, Miriam, and David. And then they had Dougie and Allison too down there. And
it's a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people. And then we had the Davises. You remember Duke, right?
Yeah.
We all grew up together. And then my Uncle Steve lived out there. He moved out there and everything else. So, and then we had my cousin, the Haycocks, up there. And, like I said, it's a village. And then we had the Locketts, Owens. And I think that's the other thing. There's a lot more accountability, because if we go to a friend's house and we mess up, back in that day, their parents had permission from our parents to discipline us. Okay, so once that happened, we get home. Guess what? We're getting it again. because we messed up in our house, and then we got home, and we done embarrassed mom and dad in somebody else's house. So we got disciplined twice. So that shaped us right there too, and helped us, straighten up and do the right thing. So
Conducting yourself elsewhere, just at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and with that being said, was as we got a little bit older, our parents, my mom and dad, trusted us, to do things such as ride our bikes up to my Aunt Carol's to go swimming, and that was, you're talking about 5-10 miles from home, at least. I don't remember. It just seemed like it was so long because, we're kids and we're riding bikes, so, this was distance. And then as we moved out to we moved out outside Shawnee near Crownsville, and it was the same thing. But that was at least 10 miles 15 miles from wherever, so our parents let us ride our bikes. These were country roads,
Well, it's kind of like because you're remembering it as such a long way because you were a kid. Because I remember whenever we would take a drive from out here to Lima, and it felt like the longest drive in the history of the world.
Yeah.
But now that I'm an adult and I can make that drive myself, and I've been older and with you, I'm just like, this isn't anything.
Yeah. That's about an hour drive. But but where we lived at in the Navy, back then, for riding bikes, that was a long distance. So, that's the one thing they trusted us, having all that, having everybody around that was able to help shape and mold us over these years. It really helped. It helped them to trust us. So we go to school. We didn't have really many issues. With this in school, they might went over, because if my parents came to school, they walked up in that school, it would be, oh, guess what, Gina Pat's here, or I'd hear it from my friends, oh, I saw your mom and dad out in the hallway. I said, they ain't here for me.
It was like just,
that must be.
I'm out.
I said, that must be Kevin.
You just automatically go to him.
Well, that's the thing about was that when we went growing up, once Johnny got in high school and Steve got in high school, there was always two of us in high school together until Uncle Michael graduated, which left Uncle Mark by himself. But through school, there was always some.
So it was like Uncle John, Uncle Stevie, Uncle Kevin, and then Uncle Mark and Uncle Michael.
Yeah, and then one graduated, one came in. Okay, that's the same thing with elementary school. There was we always had a sibling there, a brother, whatnot. So,
how far apart are you guys?
2 years. I think Kevin and I are 2.5 years. Okay. I mean, there's that gap right there. So I was born in 67. I was born in 67. Michael was born in 69, and Mark was born in 71. Or was it 70? 71, or it was born in December, so, I think it was late 70, it was December, it was December 2070, so, it was about 2 years, so, give or take a couple months, but, and then Uncle Kevin, because Kevin was born in 65, 64, and, Steve was born in 62, and John was born in 60. I'll probably get that wrong. But I know.
But it was enough. It was enough of a gap that like you guys could be together jumping through.
Yeah.
Except for poor Uncle Mark there at the end.
Yeah. But he was the baby, and everybody spoiled him. So, because that's like when my brother Johnny was playing basketball. Especially when he was playing basketball, Mom and Dad would put us in the car, and we'd go all over Ohio. Going to his basketball games when he was in high school and whatnot. So everybody knew us, so we were getting spoiled by a lot of people, especially me too, so, because I know I was in elementary school when when Uncle Johnny was playing basketball, that's right, because he graduated in 79, so, we were going all over, place, and that's the one thing. That's what I really enjoyed was that my mom and dad would put us in the car. We'd go fishing. They go away for the weekend or something down in Dayton. We come down here to Dayton, see relatives down here, and we get a hotel. They put us up in a hotel. We'd all be in a hotel. They get a suite, so they had their room and pile us 6 boys in one room.
That seems like a disaster.
It was fun. It was fun, and people would come to the hotel. Our cousins here would come up to the hotel to see us sometimes. Or after we come out there to visit. This is down here in Dayton. Then everybody go back to the hotel and
hang out,
yeah. And Yeah, that's the thing was that they take us all over the place. One story I remember was when my mom, she went to New Jersey with a cousin to see my cousin. He was in the Army, Fort Dix, as a matter of fact, and they were there, and she missed Dad so much and missed us so much that she called Dad to tell us to come to New Jersey. Tell to come to New Jersey and get her, So Dad piled us all in the car. And
Just went to New Jersey.
yeah, we piled in the car, and I remember it was during. I can't remember exactly how old I was, but we got there and we got checked into Fort Dix. We left at night. We got there like the mid-morning, and we checked at the billeting on base and whatnot. And we had a good time, But she missed us, so I don't know how long she was there for it, but it seemed like when Mom would go to Chicago or they'd go to Chicago or whatnot, it seemed like she'd be gone forever. I know she was, time, but it's just the togetherness, and I think that's one of the things that shaped us, the family, and you see now how close we are. It's like we might not see each other, might be a couple months before I see him, but I'll be easily on the phone.
You're always talking to Uncle Kevin on the phone, or just like going back and forth with them. So.
Going back and forth, but we get together and it's like it's like Christmas, day after Christmas, we'll be up there in Lima and having a good old time.
Not me.
Yeah,
I gotta work.
It's called adult.
Yeah, I don't like. I just want to say I don't like being an adult.
Yeah. So I don't like being an adult.
This is the first one I've missed since we've been back from England.
Yeah,
because last year I came out because I was working at Speedway still, but I got off at 3 and I came out there. So it's the first one.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
but it's the same thing with me too, because I don't see them quite as often as I should.
Yeah. See, now you got a car, so you
I can go down. Yeah, which I am frequently reminded of.
Yes.
But it's the same thing because it's at the end of the day, it's all love there, and it's like
they know,
new stuff happens.
Yeah,
and I think it's important that also comes from Grandpa a little bit too.
Yeah,
and it's like that's these family. This is the most important connection you're ever going to have is your family. That's something you can't get rid of. Yeah, even if you want to.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Talk about family and father. Every day, I got something. Every day, I got a picture frame, electric picture frame, digital picture frame on my desk, cycle screws. So I always have a piece of my family that I see every day. When I see a picture of Grandpa. When he passed away, it was. Dad passed away, of course, it took me a while, but, more often than not, all thoughts are great, then I get that one moment where it's like, oh gosh, I miss him so much, but, it is what it is. We get older and I understand that, but, and as I get older and I'm seeing my friends and whatnot, it's, something to think about. Where, I see my friends where their parents are passing away, or even they are now, because I'm 48. I'll be 49 here in January.
Wow. Getting close.
Yeah.
Big 5-0.
Big 5-0. Yeah. It's all good.
I'm still young at heart.
I'm still young at heart. That's his attitude. So.
You're still a goofball.
Yeah.
So. You're still the guy that collapses on the ground in defeat when you lose Portland Cornwall.
So I just, I'm still young at heart. I just got to use my Just for Men.
Well, that's distinguished with the guy there.
Well, you didn't see me for a while though. I had Just for Men. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Wait, what was it with a touch of gray, or was it just the straight up?
It was straight dark. Yeah, ask Terry about that. As a matter of fact, I might put it on tonight. So
I think I like the salt and pepper.
well, actually, it was just salt and pepper. Now this is straight gray now. I think so.
Just salt.
Yeah, it's salt.
Why you gotta be so salty?
Like it's so salty with all these flavors.
All these flavors, you chose to be salty. Man, I love that. That's great. So I had a question for you. So you come from this background of being raised with 5 siblings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm of course an only child.
Right.
Well, technically an only child.
Yeah.
I was
You're
never
my only child.
Yes, I was never raised in a period of time where I wasn't an only child.
Right.
I think Isaiah, when I was in Arizona, Isaiah was born. I was there for maybe another 2 years before I came to live with you. So it wasn't really, and he lived with my mom at the time. So it was me.
Right.
You know, so. And obviously, and I know from having friends that have siblings too, and living with the Franco.
You had about 4 years where you were an only child.
Yeah,
where you were.
Yeah, it was just you and me.
Right.
And just like living, because when I lived with the Francos, it was a completely different dynamic. Because that Derek, Lexi, Kaylee, and me, and we were all living in the same house and essentially siblings.
Right.
At that point.
Is this about when I was deployed?
Yeah, when you were out in the desert doing your thing. I don't know. It's just weird to think about. Mm-hmm. It's like you come from that background. Like even like when you look at my uncles, it's like at this point they all have multiple children.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever think about having another one, or was I just so perfect that you didn't feel like you needed to try again?
Well, I think I wouldn't mind having another kid. Don't get me wrong, but I think I see. No. I got to the point that at some point with the age and everything, you start, thinking about between myself and Tammy and whatnot. That's we're done.
Good.
Yeah, we're done. Okay, so it's and I love Ken and Rodney. It's they were my own. So I have no regrets. So I don't know how else to answer that one because.
Well, I mean, I guess the question, did the thought ever cross your mind at any point? Because like you have that, because obviously it was we had that sort of middle period between when you and Joanne split up and then when you met Tammy. Mm-hmm. But was that ever? So it was kind of just like, was it ever? I guess what I'm trying to say is, was that ever a thought before like all that happened? Like before it was just you and me, and before you met Tammy. So like when you were with Joanne, or like
not when I was with her at that point. So that's a whole other issue too. So no one go in that. But yeah, no, there. As I got older, I would say probably no. There was that I would say probably once that thought went by the wayside. I think after I got custody of you, and having to continue on, I didn't think about it. And once I met Tammy and whatnot, we didn't think about it. And, didn't think about that at that point. So, we're 10 years in our marriage now, and
wow, now
it's going,
Is it 10 or is it going to be 10?
No, it's 10.
Is it? Okay,
yeah, we said our 10. Yeah, 10.
That's what I thought. Just confirming, just getting the facts. I'm a professional, sir.
Right.
Trying to get all the facts. Right. So I guess going back, like I guess it's kind of hard to look at it from where you are now. Mm-hmm. But like, imagine the darkest timeline where I stayed in Arizona. And you kept doing whatever and being Air Force,
right?
Do you think you might have had another kid, or do you think
I might have? But I can't sit here and second guess that because my whole situation, because it wasn't just her. It was
Right?
Right, yeah.
Oh man, that's great.
Yeah.
I like that.
No, I don't want to go into that.
No, well,
I have to bleep that one, though.
no, it's fine.
No.
It's fine. I don't edit. Are you kidding me?
No filter.
No filter.
So, but yeah, I no.
No, you don't think so?
No.
I'm it.
Yeah, you're it. That's it.
I'm it, and that's it. That's awesome.
What they say in college, one and done.
One and done. Yeah. And it was like, I just happened to be the ultimate child.
If you say so.
Oh, man. I'm gonna have to cut all of that out because I'm not. Because my ego is just. So, well, it was really cool talking to you, man. About all this stuff. Thank you for agreeing to do this, even though you probably thought it was the weirdest idea you ever heard.
Yeah, but yeah, here we are. We're sitting here, and
It worked.
it worked.
That's usually how it goes because so I'm gonna pull the curtain back a little bit. This is the first I'm recording these in chunks.
Right.
So I'm recording a bunch of them. So everybody that I've done the show with so far has been like, so what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And then I've had to explain it, and then they would start doing the episode as like, I don't know about this, and then it would just happen like it happened here, just like we would just go into it, and it would turn out fine.
Right.
And I think it also helped that because I've known you're one of the two people that I've known my entire life.
Yeah. I hope so. I would think I know you.
So it just kind of worked out a little bit better than most things. I appreciate you sharing with me, being here.
I appreciate that. I enjoyed this.
Thank you. That's good. I'm glad. I'm probably forgetting like 50 different things, but that's all I...
Who knows?
Who knows? So, Dad, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Love you.
Love you too.
And thank you for letting me have this word.